sound of the 80s.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Beyond the 80 podcast. My name is Dan Talintyre and each week I'm joined by some very special guests right across the game of rugby league to talk all the latest news and opinions, but most importantly, we're going to have a bit of fun along the way. I'm very excited for today's episode and to introduce three guests for today's show. What a lineup we've got. First up, I'll welcome in a name we've come to grow and love here at West Tigers, the captain of our women's team, a Maori All-Star, an Origin winner, a Jillaroo. It's not a bad list. Welcome to the show, Botille, Vette-Welsh.
Hi.
We couldn't have a Jillaroo on without also having a Kiwi fan. We've got to keep these things equal. She's a new recruit of West Tigers, a fantastic player in the women's game. Welcome, Raecene McGregor.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And finally, just to keep us all in order, and sure we've actually got a bit of fact and order to go with everything, it's a big welcome to Alicia Newton from NRL.com.
Hello, Dan. I have been listening to this great podcast. It's great to be on here and, great to see the girls on here as well. It should be good fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Now, we're all obviously remotely dialing in here from isolation. I might just quickly see how everything's been going. Bo, how's the training routine been so far? We've seen a bit of Instagram stuff from you about your training. How's it all going?
Yeah, it's going good. It's quite hard to stay motivated before knowing that we were unsure about our season. But now we've got a little bit of hope behind us. It's easier to train. I've still been training hard. We've been getting smashed more now than I've been during the season. So a little bit harder, but I'm happy and grateful that I can still get outside and still have a run around.
Raecene, is that pretty on the money there? Has it been a pretty tough schedule?
Yeah, it's been pretty tough. I mean, like Bo said, it's been hard to train not knowing if we were going to get another game again this year, but seeing that, that it's been put on the calendar that hopefully that we can come back and play. I guess it gives us something to strive for, which really helps.
Absolutely. And Alicia, I know you've been pretty flat out this week, covering everything on NRL.com. What's been on in the working week so far this week?
Yeah, a day feels like a year right now, Dan. What's been happening? Obviously, we had a bit of news about Todd standing down earlier in the week, so went into that. A bit more confirmation around May 28, which we'll get into a bit later. But yeah, it's, as I said, I can't tell you what day it is at the moment. It's pretty hectic. We're down to about 2 staff writing for NRL.com, and so everyone just throws in and pitches in at this point. So it's good fun. Hopefully we get a few more staff back over the next week or two.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for your time today. Looking forward to today's show. We're going to chat through all the latest news and opinions, get a bit of an insight into both of Raecene and Bo's careers before rounding it out with a little game we're going to call in 10 years' time. But first, it's certainly been a big week of news, and we'll get to all the latest right after this.
That's a win.
This NRL season, take it to the Neds level.
You're listening to the Beyond the 80 podcast, and I might go to you first, Alicia, as the reputable and respected journalist on today's show. It's certainly been a very big week in terms of rugby league in season 2020. I might try and run through what we've had in this week so far, and you can let us know if there's anything we've missed. So on Monday, the big news was that NRL CEO Todd Greenberg was stepping down. You wrote a fair bit kind of on that last week and into this week as well. It seemed to be something that was coming for a little time.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's pretty hard to say. I thought it was a sad day. It's never great to see somebody probably publicly lose their job who, I think personally has done a pretty decent job. So, he was a bit silent for a while, and then he came out and spoke. It was either Wednesday, and he sounded relieved, which obviously would have been a big weight off his shoulders to do something like that. I liked it when he turned around and said, when asked what he was proud of, the first thing he said was the women's game, which I thought was really, really cool. He was proud of helping it get up and running and hoped that it continued to prosper for years to come. And that was a big thing. He said, I want to stay a fan of the game. I don't want to be lost to the game as a supporter. Whether he comes back down the track in the world of rugby league, I don't know. But, obviously wish him all the best. Got a young family, so I'm sure he'll enjoy the break.
Absolutely. I guess you kind of talk about the growth in the women's game being a big area that Todd was proud of. I guess Raecene is someone that's probably been in and around that international circuit for a fair while in the women's game. Can you almost believe how much the game's kind of grown in the last probably year or two, on top of the growth that it already had?
Yeah, I know. Like, I never thought, like, being a bit younger than I am now, that I'd ever be playing. Like, even on grand final day, like, that was so surreal. Like, I never ever thought going to all those grand finals, thinking that one day that I would be able to play before those guys. So
Mm.
even just to be able to do that now it's awesome. Like, I can't imagine what the game's going to be like in another 5-10 years. It's just grown so quickly, and I can't wait to see, I guess, what it's going to be like in the future.
Absolutely. Obviously, we're all across the May 28th date. The Commission's put out and kind of doubled down in proposing for the men's game to return. I guess the big news that's topical for today's show is the news out of New South Wales Rugby League was the likely return of the Harvey Norman New South Wales Women's Premiership season, along with the Ron Massey and Sydney Shield and Community Rugby League competitions. I guess, Bo, was there much chatter amongst the girls when that kind of news started to trickle out that there was likely to be a return on July 18?
Yeah, as soon as New South Wales Rugby League posted it online, our whole team chat posted it straight away, and everyone's excited. I think we're relieved that there's hope that we're going to have another couple of games in our season. So yeah, as soon as it was released, we were all excited and jumped on board. Everyone's now making sure that they're starting to train if they've been having a rest. So
okay, so all the slackers now know that there's a date that's coming, and they need to be ready.
Yeah,
No names.
No
they
names.
didn't really take the rest lightly. Yeah. They're all chilling and relaxing, and now that we've got a date, everyone's back on board.
Has there been much chat yet around kind of when you're likely to get back into training or that sort of thing, or is that still a little up in the air?
Yeah, I think that's still up in the air with all the restrictions on how many people can gather at once. I think we're all unsure when training starts, but if we can all train by ourselves, then once we come together, it makes it a little bit easier.
Raecene, you got that one game for West Tigers in after doing the fun whole long preseason. That must have been just exactly what you wanted. I guess it must have been pretty frustrating to kind of wait all year and kind of have the preseason and then the comp get kind of called off just after that one game.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely frustrating. I was definitely grateful to be able to get one game in the jersey. I mean, it was a long preseason, but it was awesome to get to know some new faces and to reconnect with some old people that I guess I first started playing rugby league with. So, I mean, it's been a good journey so far. So hopefully, I can get back out on the field with the girls and hopefully put that jersey back on.
Was there anyone in that team? You kind of mentioned that there was a few names that you hadn't, seen or played with for a while. Was there anyone that you were, I guess, excited to play back alongside again?
Yeah, I guess I'm really excited to play along Keish. I first started playing with her at Greenacre Tigers, funnily enough. So,
yeah, right.
And she was my second row way back then. So I'm, excited to get back out there with her. She was always a good player outside me. So yeah, I can't wait for that to happen again.
Alicia, that return on July 18 is probably a bit of a tricky one yet for the Harvey Normans season. Do we know yet how likely the competition's going to run for and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it is pretty interesting, Dan, because obviously you got the NRLW as well. There's a lot of conjecture around the future of that. So ideally, I think what we're going to see happen if both competitions go ahead is that they're going to clash, which means, you're going to leave about 20 of the girls off last year's team to pretty much, I guess, almost decide who they're going to play for or what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen down the track in that regard or how it's going to work. So, I mean, the beauty of the New South Wales Rugby League competition getting up and running is that if the NRLW doesn't go ahead or pushes back, down to October, November, you can essentially, for the girls, especially for Bo and Ray, they can remain at the Tigers and play a full season, which would be great. So it's a bit of a fallback option for them. In terms of, I guess, it all comes down to the men's game. As much as we want in an ideal world for the women's game to stand on its own 2 feet, a lot of it will come down to how the men's game operates, and then again how the NRLW can accommodate to that. So yeah, it's interesting. New South Wales Rugby League, it's a very, very, very brave move. Obviously, I think 100,000 players across grassroots and to the senior level basically have been told to get back to training. So, yeah, it's good news. It's just a matter of the women's game of how it's all going to work. And I'm sure there's going to be a few clashes along the way. But, I mean, if it's anything to get back on the field, I think we're willing to do anything at this point.
Yeah, I kind of you touched on it there. I guess Bo and Raecene, you're both were in kind of NRLW sides for the last couple of years. I guess has there been any communication yet to you guys yet around what that comp's likely to look like, or?
Well, I mean, not really like as in when the comp will come back, but we've still had like our coaching staff and our S&C shooting out programs to us constantly on things that we need to make sure that we're working on individually, as we can't be training together. So there's still heaps of stuff coming out of our end for if it does go ahead, that we'll make sure that we're prepared to the best that we can to be ready again. So say that the competition does come back this year.
Yeah. Bo, what's that transition like when you're kind of wrapping up one season and then quickly going into, a new season with new teammates and I imagine new plays and new structures as well? That must be a little bit of a weird transition.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. I think it's more exciting. It's like you have such a fun and enjoyable season and then it all comes to an end and then you start up a whole fresh new season with a whole new team. And I think it's more exciting than strange. I enjoy it. I like going from enjoying one team and having so much fun with the girls to going straight into a whole new team, whole new bunch of girls, whole new bunch of friends. So it's like one good thing to the next good thing.
Okay, that's the best way to approach it.
The big question is though, when are we getting an NRLW Tigers team? That's what I want to know, Dan. Surely you can help us out there.
Oh, look, I'd love to have an exclusive around that. Look, I think you're probably better off asking. Maybe I'd say the two international women's players that are on this podcast, rather than me, Alicia. But I know. Look, I think, and I guess probably Bo could probably talk about this as well. Like, I think we've seen such a huge growth from where this kind of Harvey Norman's women's and even the Tasha Gale comp, has grown for it at the club. I think back to the club's first year in the Tasha Gale comp. I think the side didn't win a game. The following year they kind of went to the semis. Bo, you could probably see that first year of the Harvey Norman's team was a bit kind of challenging, and then last year, you came within a couple of minutes of making that grand final.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think it was a little bit, I think the club and everyone was a bit unsure on how Harvey Norman's women's Tigers team would look like and then how well we did towards the end of the season. There was so much support given from the club. The men's team even jumped on board and sent us a few messages and gifts and things like that. So, yeah, it started off a bit unsure, but I think now the club and even the supporters of the men's team are jumping on board. I can remember at our finals game we had a little bunch of people near the try line with flags and everything.
Yeah,
and
that was awesome. The West Tigers fanatics, yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. We've never had really anything like that, and it was really cool. And it was cool to see them jump on board on our wagon as well as the men's.
And I think a big part of that too has been around kind of having the double headers as well when the season's lined up. I know that was something that was scheduled in for this year. I think there was going to be 2 double headers where the Harvey Norman women's team would play prior to an NRL fixture. I think there was one at Bankwest. Raecene, you would have been playing for Cabra, I think, in that one.
Yeah, I was actually.
Like
Not a very good game for us, but good game for Tigers.
Hey, blame Bo. Bo was the one that carved up. I think, but that must have been Bo. I guess
that's true.
like,
yeah,
that was a pretty cool experience to be able to kind of play at Bankwest like that.
Yeah, that was awesome. I think it was the first kind of time that the Tigers fans got like first-hand experience on the women's team. So it was kind of like a little foot in the door to open it up to the rest of the West Tigers fans to come and jump on board and support us. And we won, thankfully. So it was kind of a good opportunity that worked well for us.
Oh, we'll thank Raecene for that down the track as well. That was, it was all part of a bigger plan. Well, fingers crossed.
Oh, yeah, definitely, of course.
Fingers crossed you're both back on the field very soon, because you're definitely too talented not to be out there, and Alicia's far too talented to not be writing about it as well, I think. So fingers crossed that July 18 date comes off. Well, that pretty much covers off the news at the moment. Up next, we're going to put Bo and Raecene in the hot seat a little bit and find out some truths about their rugby league careers and also their interests as well.
That's a win.
This NRL season, take it to the Neds level.
All right, you're listening to the Beyond the 80 podcast. I'm joined by Jillaroo, Botille, Vette-Welsh, Kiwi Fern, Raecene, McGregor, and journalist extraordinaire Alicia Newton. Time to drill down a bit more in regards to our two international superstars we've got on the show today. What we've got 10 big questions that we need to know the answers for before you can get off the hot seat. Okay, now you're going to think, these are going to be really intense and I'm really going to have to dig into giving away a lot about myself. I can promise you they're not too difficult, but, they're also a little revealing at the same time. So we might go in alphabetical order. And Botille, you're up first on the hot seat. How did the conversation with your Kiwi parents go down about playing for the Jillaroos?
My dad's super supportive, so he's been weighing up the options since we first moved to Australia about playing sport for whatever country approaches. And I think it was my brothers that were more the anti-Australian jersey than anything else. My parents loved the idea that I was going to be able to represent a country that's done so much for us, but my brothers were totally not for it. And I think it was hard because it was the time of the Rugby World Cup, and when you grow up in New Zealand and you've always dreamed of being an All Black, it's so hard to think of putting on a green and gold jersey during a World Cup when all you should ever be wearing is black and white.
Right, okay. Well, on that then, which stood out to you more? Your Blues debut, that Origin game, or the green and gold jersey?
Oh, I don't know. I think I was super grateful to be part of Origin. I was so shocked to even be selected. And then, I don't know, I think obviously Australian jersey is the pinnacle of rugby league in Australia. So I think I'd have to go with the Australian jersey, mainly because I got to sing both the New Zealand anthem as well as the Australian, and I got to stand in front of my first haka without having to haka back. So yeah, I think it was pretty special.
Awesome. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Definitely yes.
You can only meet one of these three. Jacinda Ardern, Sonny Bill, or Benji Marshall?
Jacinda Ardern. I think she's a pretty cool lady.
Your best cheat meal to refuel after a win?
Oh, I love to eat McDonald's after a game.
Yeah, right. Didn't have to think terribly hard about that one. I just want to point out. Which player did you grow up admiring the most?
Female or male?
Oh, you get either or.
Female. I didn't really watch much rugby league growing up. I think Maima Taufa is probably my inspiration at the moment. She grinds so much and she does so much for rugby league out west. So I admire her and she inspires me lots. But for a man, I used to have the biggest fangirl crush on Isaac Luke.
Isaac Luke? Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Not the best looker, but I used to just love him. I don't know why, but
I like that. You've covered off two questions because my next one was going to be about who you look up to in the game right now. So you've already ticked that off. So you're flying here on the hot seat. What was your first job?
I worked in retail at Ruby Shoes. They're like a shoe shop, a part of Cotton On.
Yep.
I went to Africa with them as well.
Yeah, right. What do you like on a humanitarian kind of thing, or?
Like for charity. So the Cotton On group, they have a charity that they sell. Like when you go into Cotton On, you get like water or little bracelets or little tote bags and stuff. It goes towards a charity in Uganda, and they build schools and hospitals and stuff. And my store used to sell the most charity, so I got sent to Africa to experience what we do with all our charity money.
Yeah, right. That's awesome.
So cool.
That's awesome. Well, this next one's going to seem a little weird then. If you worked at McDonald's and someone was being rude to you, would you spit in their food if you knew that no one would ever find out what you did?
Ooh, nah, I can't bring myself to do those kind of things.
See,
I would probably
you're a nice person.
eat half their chips though. I know. I would eat half their chips and like give them only a little bit of chips and maybe take a little bite. But I wouldn't spit in it, and I wouldn't use my lips so they wouldn't get my germs.
Okay, all right. And if you could train with any athlete in the world, in any sport, who would you want to train with?
Usain Bolt. He's a
the
whole athlete.
He's just the man, isn't he?
Yeah, 100% the man.
All right, you've done well. That's the spotlight.
Wow.
Well done. You've survived.
Sweet, that was fun.
All right, well, now you get to judge Raecene.
Nice.
There's no judgments coming from me.
You got a bit to live up to now, Raecene. You gotta
I
go
know.
all out. We're gonna
I'm
know all
worried
your
now.
secrets. I've learned a lot so far. That's real cool, though. Thanks for that. I'm gonna hit you up later.
All right, so there's a few similar questions. So you'll see some double ups there, but we kind of we'll start off pretty hard hitting, and then we get easier as we go along. All right. So
All right, cool.
question 1: when did you decide New Zealand? Obviously, you played rugby sevens for Australia. When did you decide New Zealand for rugby league?
I guess it was the time around the World Cup when I guess I fully made my decision to pledge my alliance to New Zealand. I guess it was an opportunity that I was given then and there, and it was something that I've always wanted to do, was play rugby league in a World Cup, whether it be for New Zealand or Australia. But I guess it was because I got approached by them first, and so it was kind of just an opportunity that was given to me at a young age, and I took it. So I guess that's probably what got me to go there first.
The Nines getting the better of the Gillaroos. How satisfying?
Oh, I guess I don't know how to even explain that in words, to be honest. I'm sure if you guys go back and watch the game and see the celebration, you'll see how much that meant to each and every one of us out there on that field. That was the first time I've been in Australia since wearing that jersey. So, I mean, it was something else to me, and I'm sure it was to every single one of us out there.
Okay. You can only meet one: Jacinda Ardern, Sonny Bill, or Benji Marshall.
Sonny Bill, any day.
Sonny Bill.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Pineapple on pizza? Yes or no?
No, definitely no.
Ooh.
I do not like pineapple.
Best cheat meal to refuel after a win?
I like KFC. KFC is my go-to.
Look at this. We're just getting all the opposites. I'm loving this. Which player did you grow up admiring the most?
I've always admired Billy Slater from a young age. I guess when I first started playing rugby league, I played fullback. So I guess he was someone that I really liked to watch. He was just such a great player. So, yeah, probably him.
Awesome. Which player in the game do you admire most right now?
Right now would be Cameron Munster. He's
Ooh.
like the god, I reckon, to me anyway. He's just someone that I think is such a great player, holds himself really well, and just his skill on the field is amazing.
I like that. What was your first job?
My first job, I was actually an elf for Santa photos.
What does an elf for a Santa photo? Like, is that just literally a 6-week job? Is that all? Like, you just?
Yeah. That's what I used to do. Yeah, just 6-week job over Christmas. Just used to be an elf. Stand in the line, pretty much give people their or ask them what photos, like what packages they want, and then sometimes be on the camera and have to make the babies laugh. Oh, it was a nightmare, but it was money, so it was all right.
Absolutely. I like that. Same question as Bo, the honesty one here. If you worked at Macca's and someone was being rude, and I don't mean like a little bit rude, like they're being properly rude, would you spit in their food? If like no one's ever going to find out.
When you asked for that, I was like, I don't know. It depends. Like, it would depend how rude they were. Like, it would depend. Yeah, definitely depend on how rude they were. If they were talking about something pretty bad, like, I mean, maybe if no one was ever going to find out,
like if they were saying that
it wouldn't be a big
robbed at the Nines, would they?
Yeah, I'd spit in their burger. Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't do no golly, just a little, like, just a little spit. But yeah, 100%. I would definitely spit in their burger.
And if you could train with any athlete in the world right now, who would it be?
That's a tough one, actually. Probably Maya Mataufa, actually, because she's actually someone that I also look up to in the women's game. She's been a massive ambassador for the women's, and just her training ethic. Like, when I see her train, I just think, wow, like if I had half the excitement she has when she's training, I'd be happy. But yeah, she's just such a strong-minded person. So yeah, if I could probably train with anyone, I'd love to train with her. I've actually never been able to play beside her. Actually, it's always been against her. So even that would be pretty cool.
All right, I like that. I like that. All right, Alicia, you're our respected journalist here. We need you to pick a definitive winner and confirmation on which is the better person.
Oh wow! Like seriously, it's like
Well, if I knew that was happening, I would have said, no way, I wouldn't have a spit in their burger.
hey, there's no bias here. I actually, you know what? No bias. I enjoyed that Kiwis win last year in the Nines. Like it was exciting. It got the game up, and as you know, with the Test match a week later, there was a bit of spice after it. So it was good. I enjoyed it.
All right.
But purely nothing personal, but pineapple is definitely a go on the pizza.
Yes.
I would have a full pineapple pizza on its own. So
Yeah.
for that reason alone, that's it. That's the only reason. I'm sorry, Ray.
That's all right. If you eat pineapple, you're off my friends list. That's all good.
Just letting you know that Alicia's saying I would eat a full pineapple pizza is not going to make the trailer for this episode. Well, I think you've done very well to survive the hot seat. Up next, we're going to finish on a little game we call 10 Years' Time, and we're going to put your CEO skills to the test.
That's a win.
This NRL season, take it to the Neds level.
Okay, we played this game with David Nofaluma the other day, and he set the bar pretty high. But what I need to do is get your take on these. So we've got 3 categories, and we need you each to pick a player that you'd most want in your team in these situations. All right, so you need to come up with 3 players in the women's game. You know, you play against them and with them every week, so you all know their strengths. But you can pick whoever you want. So there's any player in the women's game for these situations, and you can pick who you want in your team. All right. So here's the first situation. It's one play. So there's 10 seconds to go. The scores are level. You're on the attack. Who's the one player in your team that you'd want to have the ball to maybe kick the field goal or score the winning try? Bo, I might go to you first. Who's the one player you'd want?
I reckon I would have Jess Surgis, because her one-on-one strip against Izzy or against the Roosters, that was pretty game-changing. And then when she got that intercept, that was pretty game-changing. So instead of going for the 1 point, I'm going for the 6.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Raecene, who's the one player you'd want?
Oh, I definitely have to say Ali Brigginshaw, because she can kick, and also, like, last play, she's so dangerous, show and go. You don't know what she's going to do. So I'd definitely be backing her.
Yeah, nice. I like that. Alicia, who's the player you're going there? One play.
I've gone for a young'un. She made a debut with the Gillaroos last year. Shaq Tungai, I think, has the potential she could create something out of nothing. So I reckon over the next 5-10 years, she's going to be something very good.
Okay.
And I've seen her do some freaky stuff. So Shaq Tungai.
Match winners. I like that. All right. Let's spread it out a bit more. Now, what about for an entire season? If you were the CEO, you can sign someone, anyone you want, for the entire season. Who's the one player you'd want to have in your team? And you can't say someone that you said just before, okay? That's the little thing, all right? So we might we'll start with Raecene this time. Who's the one player you'd want in your team?
I'd probably have to say Meg Ward. She's great behind the media, great winger centre. She's got the face for rugby league. I'd definitely be having her. She'd promote us like no tomorrow, I reckon.
Oh, I'm liking that. I'm like coming from the whole CEO point of view. I like that, Raecene. I like that.
Yep.
All right, Bo, who's your player for the season? Who do you want?
Can I use someone that someone else has used?
Whoa, what do we think? I might get Alicia. Alicia, do you think she's not keen?
No,
I reckon we mix it up.
All right, you mix it.
Okay,
All right.
so someone not said before.
Not said before.
For the season. You're going to have to think someone who's not injury prone.
Wow.
Because we're making the most of our money.
That's true. That's true. I'm liking the business sense here.
That's a rough CEO.
I would go. She's a new up-and-comer. I reckon Emily Curtin for a season. Get her on the grind. Yeah, once she finds her combos, she'll be sweet.
Okay, all right. A West Tigers teammate as well.
Yeah. Keeping it in the Tiger tree.
Okay, I like that. Alicia, who's your player you want for the season?
My player would have to be the legend Honey Hirami. For a season. I think she probably in her defence, she might only have a couple of seasons left, so I couldn't get her for the whole 10 years. But yeah, Honey Hirami.
Okay, I like that though. You know you're going to get her for one good year, one big year to finish. I like that. All right, now this is the tough one. The final one is the 10 years. So you can pick any player in the game to be in your team for the next decade. But for respect, it probably does rule out a few people like Honey. So who do you want? Who do you want in your team? Who's the one player you want for the next 10 years? Bo, I might go back to you. Who's the one player you want?
I'd go Keely Davis, because she's young, so she's got lots of years in her, and she's on fire at the moment. If you didn't watch the Nines, she's looking sharp. So I'd have her in my team for the next 10 years.
Yeah, nice. Raecene?
Yeah, she literally actually just took my person. I would say. Oi, but if I couldn't have her, I'd definitely want to have someone else from Dragons, Aliyah Fasamalu. She's another player that I definitely can see being very strong in the years to come. That's for sure.
Yeah, nice. And Alicia, finish us off here. Who's the player that you want for the next decade?
Oh, look, I've gone for Racene's Broncos teammate, Millie Boyle. Yeah, she's 21, dual international. Hopefully can get over to league permanently. So, but there's a whole range, right? The Bent sisters are there as well. I wrote a list. I had a bit more prep, probably more than the girls. So I wrote a list. And of course, including Raecene, they're still young. So.
Oh, absolutely. But it would be, they're not going to pick themselves, are they? They're nice people.
I could pick them. I would pick them.
They're so nice that Racene's only doing like a little spit on your burger. Like, it's fine.
Exactly. No, not a big one, just a tiny little one.
Teams. What we might have to do is we might have to get those kind of one play, one season, and one decade. We might have to get those teams up on social, and we'll get a bit of a vote happening. See who comes out on top. Alicia, you know these teams well. Who are we confident with as the CEO? They're both pretty good.
Oh yeah, take your pick. Really, I'm not. Do I have to really choose? That's hard.
Well, you said that Botille was way better than Raecene in the last game.
Raecene, let's level it up.
Oh, I don't mind those sympathy votes.
Yeah,
who's from zero?
No, I'm not picking. That's it.
Okay.
I like my team. My team's better. Okay. Both of them. It was a good game though. I enjoyed that.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end for today's show. Botille, Raecene, Alicia, thank you for your time. I might just quickly, what's on for the rest of the week, Botille?
I've got testing in the morning and then training in the afternoon. So I'm keen to get back into top fitness level so that I'm ready for July.
What a fantastic answer. Raecene? Just in case the coach is listening this late.
Oh, yeah, I have about 5 sessions tomorrow, coach. So, I'm ready for July as well. No, I actually just have work tomorrow and then probably just do some training in the afternoon.
Nice.
No
and
biggie.
Alicia, get a little plug on here. What's coming out on NRL.com over the weekend that we need to be keeping an eye out for?
Oh, I've got a couple of stories coming, but I was going to harass you tomorrow, actually, and try and get a West Tigers player over the phone, if that's possible. I'm asking you now, so, yeah, can you let me know?
Yep, I can give you Raecene McGregor or Botille Vette-Welsh.
I don't know if Racene's going to talk to me after this.
Yeah, no, she's sacked. Sorry.
Well, thank you all for your time today, and to Neds for supporting the podcast. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Obviously, we've been pretty, thankful and humbled by all the positive reviews and comments we've been getting. So keep those coming in and keep telling us how you're enjoying the podcast. Thank you for your time today, ladies. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was actually really fun.
You sound so surprised, Bo.
Yeah, I was nervous. I've been sweating in the car the whole time, and now I'm actually having fun. I don't want to hang up.
Okay, well, we'll get you. We have to get you guys all back on soon. We'll be back on Tuesday with another episode. Until then, we'll catch you next time on the Beyond the 80 podcast.